It was just everything went bad when I got divorced, and I should never have. And I was just delusional the whole time. I was completely delusional.
What's up, guys? It's your girl Rivah, and I'm back again with another video. So I, of course, was scrolling through the wonderful world of TikTok per usual, and I saw this video that made me like kind of confused. Okay, so it was this video in which the woman said, "To my ex who lured me out of a great marriage and then got me and then cheated on me." So I, of course, was like, I need to know all the details to the situation, because right now it just seems like confusion. I'm trying to figure out how you were lured, because it sounds like you were obviously a willing participant. We need all the details. So I'm going to go ahead and press play and then give you guys my thoughts and my feelings on this entire situation.
So I think I need to respond to this post, and thank you, Riley, for bringing up. I need a story time, because I think it needs a story, because I'm sick of explaining it. So I got pregnant when I was 19 years old, okay? And my mom was like, "You're getting married." Actually, yeah. No, I gave birth when I was 19. So I was like 18-ish when I was pregnant. So my mom like forced it upon me. She was like, "You're not going to be one of those mothers who are not married, and you're on your own on welfare," because she worked for the welfare department. So she was like, "My daughter's not going to be one of them. I deal with that on the daily, and you are going to get married."
Shout out to her mom, right? Clearly, that is the generation that still believed in shame, right? They still believed in shame, embarrassment. And she was like, "Well, since you were, grown enough to make this a lifelong decision with this man and have a child, you're going to have to be grown enough to step up to the plate and now, marry this man so that you can be made an honest woman." And, as much as people revolted against the older generation having that mentality, I wish we would bring it back. Okay, I think if we did, we'd see far less, baby announcements without marriages. I'm just keeping it real.
Now, we loved each other. Yes, we were madly in love. We were high school sweethearts. Yeah. So we were just pregnant. We moved in. My mom's like, "You're getting married." So we got married. I was 5 months pregnant when I walked down the aisle. Everyone, it was the talk of the town when a big family, "Oh my God, she's pregnant. Oh my God." That's why my mom's like, "You're getting married. She's not going to be made fun of because her daughter had a baby out of wedlock." And I was just like, okay, whatever. I went with it. I went with it. I was 19. What else was I going to do? And I loved him, like, madly. We were crazy in love with each other. That's why it was a good marriage. We were best friends. So when we got married, he became a bricklayer, okay? So it was a great job in Detroit, and for a long time, I mean, he was building all the buildings downtown, everything like that. We bought a house. We were the only people out of our friends who had a house. Everybody came to our house. It was the party house. We really had a good time. It was a great marriage. It was a great, happy family.
This is the second time that this woman has said that it was a great marriage. So the only thing that I can conclude so far, this is just my opinion, is that there has to be some form of regret in this situation. There has to be. Because she keeps talking about that was her best friend. They had so much fun. They were making so much more, progress than their peers because of the fact that they were married and it was this family unit. It was such a great marriage. It just sounds like I can feel that somehow the bottom is going to drop out of this conversation.
Then he started getting laid off all the time because the economy just wasn't what it was. Like, shortly after we got married, I mean, it was like every winter he would get laid off. Every winter, because you can't lay bricks, you can't lay concrete. It's got to be a certain temperature. You know what I mean? So we struggled. We lived paycheck to paycheck every day of our lives. There were always single men all around. All the time there were single men. Every time there was guys that lived across the street. They always flirted. There was always alcohol involved. Everybody was always drinking. Like I said, our house was the party house. So I never did anything, but then there were times like, and I just don't even know. Like, I just don't, that's a whole nother video.
It sounds like this woman might be a little bit of a troublemaker. Okay, if we couldn't get that from the initial video, or if we're talking about being lured out of her marriage, I mean, we should be getting that from the context that she's giving. There's always going to be single men around. Okay, whether you're married or not, there's always going to be single men, within some kind of vicinity. If you go to the grocery store, if you go to the gas station, if you go to wherever, like, of course, there's always going to be single men. But I found it interesting that she's saying that as her husband was on, hard times, that all of a sudden her eyes started to open to, these single men in her surroundings.
We're gonna cut that out, and that'll be another video. I didn't know what it meant to take vows, you guys. I was 19, and I probably was ready to pass out from lack of oxygen because I was standing in a church full of everybody there for me and 5 months pregnant, which I hated my pregnancy. I was miserable. I was not the girl who dreamt of getting married and walking down the aisle. No. I want to run the beach and be free and lay in the sun. That's it. No, I don't want to do anything like family. I don't know. I didn't want to do that. I mean, it wasn't my dream. I did it, and I played face for a long time.
This is one of the biggest problems that I see that a lot of women do, right? A lot of women play the game. And this is the 100% the reason why a lot of men do not want to get married, right? And for the men that do want to get married, they have to watch their woman for a long time. They're very skeptical of women because of stories like this, right? You played the game and you had the happy face on that you actually wanted to be married and that you actually wanted a family unit. You know, instead of telling your mother at that time, you were grown enough to get pregnant, right? So you're obviously not a fool. You had all rights and all abilities to say, Mom, I don't want to be in that situation. I don't want to get married. Whatever the case was going to be, you had the right and the ability to have been able to say that. You didn't do that, right? You decided that you were going to go ahead and go along with it. Now you have another person, a part of this journey with you. And while the two of you are now embarking on this situation, you're now like, I don't know why I did this. I never wanted this. I never wanted to do this. And that's super unfair. Super unfair. So how are men supposed to know if you actually want to, or if you're just doing all the things and checking off a list? Only to find out that that's never really what you wanted. You just, wanted to have certain stripes. It's crazy.
So he's always laid off. I have to, I'm not educated, so I got to go get educated, right? I always waitress at night. So my husband at the time would go to work Brick Lane during the day. Well, that's how it was during the day in the beginning. And then I would go at night when he got home, would cook dinner and everything. As soon as he would come home, we would switch. And he would stay there with the baby at night, and I would go waitress, and then I'd come home.
That sounds like teamwork, right? That sounds like everybody having the best interest for the family unit, right? He's doing his work. One person's with the baby. You guys switch off. That sounds about right. That compromise and again, being there, supporting one another. Yeah, that sounds like a marriage to me. Sounds like you had, the vows down and you knew what you were doing at that point. That's what it sounds like.
That went on for a while. Then, like I said, he started getting laid off. So then somebody had to go to work. So time for Mama to step up to the plate. So I did. I was like, yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to get the fuck out of this house. But then I was going to school. I was working at a hospital, working at the hospital, clinical hours at the hospital, and bartending at the same time. And he was just staying home, which is fine. We were a team, but I started losing respect. He started, we just really, hey, the dog always wants to drink my coffee. Benny. He's my new man now. That's what I live. I don't have a man. Okay. I live with no man. This is my man. They rule my world.
You see, when Kevin Samuel said it, by a dog, or when people call them, the cat women, they get so mad and angry and defensive. But this was the reality in which he was talking about. Okay. This was actually the reality of what a lot of these women are going to have to, be okay with because of the decisions that they make. 100%. And, it's crazy that this woman, talked so openly. And I'm glad that she said it so that it can bring awareness. But it's just crazy that this is how it works. This woman was in a relationship with this man. This man honored her. He did the best that he could to help provide. He was there for his child. Not no, father that wasn't there. He was obviously there. Had no problem being there for the child when she went to work. They would trade off. He was committed to her from all we know from the conversation. And because of the fact that he fell on hard times based off of his job, she lost respect for this man. Again, women who want to be married need to get around married women and listen to the things that they are saying. Because you are going to go through ebbs and flows. And, it's not always going to be easy. Financially and whatever the situation is, it's not always going to be easy, but you are going to have to be committed to the family structure and the family unit, regardless of. Sometimes the only thing that you can lean on within your relationship is that commitment. That's being steadfast for one another, supporting one another.
we just broke apart. It was getting bad, and I had resentment, and there was this guy at my new job who would not stop flirting with me, and he was tall, dark, and handsome, and he said all the right things, and I was just, it was the new job I was getting into, and he was like the best at that job, and I just watched him and learned from him every day, and I just was enamored by him, and he never left me alone every day. He just was a talker. Like, I mean, my phone was blowing up.
How did he get your number? How did he get your number? Him being a talker on the job is one thing, but how did he get your phone number to actually call you and be on the phone with you? You gave it to him. That's a part of the story that you're not saying. You clearly gave him the number. And you know what's so interesting is that when men are, you know, the bosses on their jobs, and then their secretaries get with them, and, you know, women are so upset or whatever the case is, it's like, because, you know, she sees him as a point of authority, as a boss, whatever. Same thing that this woman is doing. It's the same thing. Okay, your man is at home while he's at home with the kids so that you can go further your education and so you can do your job. Right? That's obviously was not his first choice. It sounds like he was a hardworking man. You guys were both young. He had a specific job that he did, and he kept getting laid off. You decided, you know what, babe, don't worry about it. I'm going to continue my job that I already had. I'm going to do school. We're going to get to this place, and we're going to figure it out. Then you lost respect for him after you agreed with doing this stuff. And now you start admiring the man on your job because he got one. Foolishness. It's foolishness. And it's messed up. Because if you lost your job and he started, you know, hooking up with the coworker or, you know, whoever it was at his job because of her ambition, you would be singing a tune, and women will be on social media like, oh my gosh, men are horrible. This is why men are trash. It's crazy.
He never stopped. It was irresistible. It became irresistible. I was pushing him off of me. But then we went out, all of us, as a group, and we drank. And when alcohol's involved, it's not good. That's why I don't drink anymore. Literally the beginning of the end. I think weeks later, my ex-husband found like his receipt in my vehicle and asked who he was. And I think that also he may have started to go into Verizon and start looking at the hundreds and hundreds of text messages that were going on each day between me and the you know, dude. He forgives me. What did you forgive me? So in that time, I literally, like I said, it was the beginning of the end, and I broke down, and it was a very quick downward spiral. I'm lucky that I made it out, like never like losing my job or, you know, also graduating and just getting through all of the stuff that I got through because I was in utter turmoil. The
turmoil that you caused. Okay, so nobody doesn't feel sorry for you or have any compassion about that situation because you were the one who made all these decisions. So whatever turmoil you were experiencing at that time has everything to do with you.
Entire time. I got divorced, and then I moved in with the dude. My son didn't want to live with him. I mean, it was just a whole horrible thing. My son just dropped out of school. It was just, everything went bad when I got divorced, and I should never have. And I was just delusional the whole time. I was completely delusional. I drank so much alcohol. I could not make decisions properly. My family would not interact with me anymore because I was making such wrong decisions. Nobody liked the guy that I was dating. So I had no support. You know, they were like just shocked that I left my ex. It's good times, you know. Good times. Good times.
I appreciate her being authentic about this situation. Obviously, she did the wrong thing. I think we all know that, and I think she knows that because she says that she should have never divorced her husband. She made it a wrong decision, and this is an entire embodiment of the conversation I have constantly on this platform where I say that women go out there and they're like, I could do better than you. You know, they leave the man, they go get into a new relationship, they start flossing and acting like, you know, this is the best thing since sliced bread. And, you know, turns out they they made the wrong decision. They live in regret. You know, more times when women divorce, I often see that those women actually live in regret, you know, way more than the women who pretend like they're so happy and everything is all kumbaya. Like majority of the time, women 100% regret their decision leaving their husbands. Because you know why? They never thought it through. They didn't. You see, the reason why women file for divorce more than men is because men are logical thinkers. They're thinking how it's going to affect the community. They're thinking of how it's going to affect their children, their household, their family structure as a whole. Like, they're thinking about that whole thing. Hence why it's harder for them to make decisions like this. Women, they just, all right, well, this is how I feel. I'm going with my feelings. I felt this for a little bit. It's over. And then after, when reality strikes, they're like, oh, wait, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe that was the wrong move. Maybe that was a mistake. Okay? The grass is green on the other side. Like I always say, they get on the steps, look over the fence, ain't no grass. This was an embodiment of ain't no grass.
No, it was the worst of times, and I don't know how I made it out. It was the grace of God that I made it all out alive. And now I'm like way on the other side, and it's crazy because the boyfriend, the guy that I left my husband for, he still literally tries. I literally still had to just block him because he still tries to come into my life. And he lives with a girl. So this is how I know that he's just. That's why I can make this fucking video, okay, and say one thing about me is that I know that I'm never like you. Okay, that's what the was. Why is everyone flipping out over the video? Like, I went into the comments and they hide these comments, and I approved all of these because I want them to be seen. I want all these comments to be seen. I take accountability. If you look in my follow me or anything, I have a series called Hard Life Lessons Learned, and that's one of them. The grass is not greener on the other side. Like, I've lived and learned. I have learned, okay, people. I'm not a narcissist. I live alone, and mostly because I decide to, and I am an isolator. I don't like to be around others, but I don't like to date. I don't know. I am alone, so that's what I get, and it is lonely and sad. But what hurt the most out of all of that was my son, and that's why I would have stayed, okay? Because mothers should, you should give of yourself for your children, and I was only thinking of myself. I was very selfish and drunk and stupid, but now I'm on the other side. Now I'm getting emotional, but there you go, Riley. That's the story.
I'm happy that she said this because I think that other women need to have this awareness of their possible realities based off of their decision making. Like, yeah, you might be going through a rough patch in your marriage, but maybe you need to sit down and really think of how blessed you are that you have a man who's standing 10 toes down with you, willing to protect you, willing to support you, being there for you. That is his children. Or his child, so he is going to think about them in the best benefit. Like, a lot of women need to put certain things into perspective, because she's like, in hindsight, she should have never left. She wouldn't have left. She would have been happier. She wouldn't have been alone. And she's like, she's alone right now, and she's like, it's sad and it sucks, but this is a result of the decision that she's made, and the only thing that she can do is sit in them. And when she did talk about the backlash that she received from the video, I believe 100% the backlash from that video is based off of the fact that she said that she was lured out of her marriage, when obviously, like, you're not the victim, right? You were never the victim in the situation. You weren't the victim when you got pregnant. You were happy in love. You didn't use whatever ramifications to protect yourself from pregnancy. You got married. You had the right to say that that's not something that you wanted to do or you were not ready for. If that was the case, regardless of what your mom said, she couldn't have stopped you from getting pregnant. She couldn't have forced you into marriage. You had all these people around you, or temptation, whatever the case is. You decided to give that man your number. You decided to hang out with that man. You decided to entertain that man knowing that you were married. Like, all of these things that happened were because of you. And I think that, again, you using the word Lord made it seem like you were a victim in this situation when clearly you were not. Again, I think this is a reality that a lot of women need to take into consideration when they think that the grass is greener on the other side. Ain't no grass. Okay? There might be grass for some, but you have to understand that is a gamble that you have to be willing to take, that maybe you're going to be in the house with dogs by yourself. Okay? That's just the reality. I'd like to know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this entire situation. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in the next one. Love you.